Hi, my name is Rachel and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be my November wrap up. Now, I really didn't have a fantastic reading month in November. Unfortunately, I was fighting a slump tooth and nail, and I also got an injury that really kind of dampened my mood, didn't make me want to read, even though I was like laid up in bed. Like I was just feeling sorry for myself, scrolling on the internet. You know how it goes. But that being said, I did finish 4 books in November, and there's still a few days left in the month as of the time that I'm filming this. So I should have another 5th book wrapped up by the end of this as well. So without further ado, let's dive in. The first book I finished in November, I had actually started in October back when I was at the cabin, and this is A House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher. This was my first T. Kingfisher book. This book is about a character named Samantha who is an archaeologist / entomologist and she is getting ready to go on this like dig site, and they cancel it last minute. But her car is literally packed. She is on her way there, and her roommates have already rented out her room, so she can't go home. She's like, "Hey mom, I got nowhere to stay. Can I come stay with you?" And of course her mom says yes. But when she gets there, spooky things are happening in that house that take a turn. Things go awry within minutes of her arriving, I would say. And I think the main character was really clever. She was like witty and sarcastic. She gave a lot of bug facts, which I hate bugs, but even reading about them through Samantha's eyes kind of gave me a new appreciation for some of them. And the relationship with her mom was in the end really like wholesome and cute, and I felt for them honestly through their ordeal. I think this book was really good. It definitely is a like speculative kind of like, you have to suspend your disbelief just a little bit, but it was overall so fun, really witty. I think the writing was like really good, engaging, intriguing, and I gave this one a 4.25 stars. I also finished Tokyo Ghoul Volume 8 in November, and while I did really like this one, I wish it had just a little bit more like from the ghouls perspective. I think, I don't know, we did get a mix of like investigator perspective and ghoul perspective, but I just like the ghouls so much better. This is definitely a series where like I'm rooting for the like anti-heroes and I ended up giving this one a 4-star. Also in November, I read The Only Good Indians by Stephen Grant Jones. I had read My Heart is a Chainsaw by this author probably over a year ago now at this point, and I really need to get to the sequel because I loved the first one so much. And this book was no different. I loved it. It was really like engaging, atmospheric. It was mysterious. You really wanted to know what was going on. Like the entire first half of the book, you're like, literally, what the fuck is happening? But no, like actually, like what the fuck is happening? Like it was crazy. It was also like a little psychological. It really kind of played into your like fears and your senses, and I just think it really set the tone. And it had some cool writing device, which I won't really spoil, but the first half of the book is different from the second half, and I just think that tone switch like was really like, whoa, holy shit, like this is crazy, like shit's happening to these people, and I just thought it was so good, and I gave this one a 4.25 as well. Also in November, I finally finished Alcatraz versus the Evil Librarians by Brandon Sanderson. I think I had started this back in September, was it 2 months ago in September? Yeah, I think it was 2 months ago in September with my son, because I hadn't planned on reading it with him, but he asked me to read the first chapter out loud because he loves the cover so much. And I read the first chapter out loud, and then he was like, "Mommy, let's read it together." And so I tried really hard to read every night to him a few pages. He could only make it through 4 or 5 before he got bored because there are no pictures. But earlier this month, he was like, "Mom, I don't want to read that book anymore. You can just read it without me." So I was like, "Say less, kid. You got it." And I finally finished Alcatraz versus the Evil Librarians, which I honestly thought was really funny. I love when middle grade is like a little kitschy and like a little cliche. I think because of the targeted age for those books, like that is going to really engage them. And honestly, as a grown up, like I was super engaged. I thought it was really funny. It does break the fourth wall a little bit too, which I really like. I'm finding more and more that I like books that break the fourth wall when it fits fits the tone. Like, it's really good, you know? Like, when it's done right, it's done right. Yeah, so I think this was a super solid middle grade. I'm really interested to definitely finish the series. I have them all on my shelf, so I'll probably be reading them anyways. But this one I ended up giving a 4-star. Hi, it's Rachel from a different day. I was gonna mention Brahm as an honorable mention because I was almost done with it when I initially filmed my wrap up, but I actually did manage to finish it yesterday, which was November 30th, the last day of the month. So I'm gonna include it here. And this one started out really strong. I was loving the vibes. The plot was super good. I loved Abatha as a character. I loved Samson as a character. If you know, you know. And it was very much giving like witchy, Puritan, like good for her vibes, but I do feel like the ending kind of dragged just a little bit. I feel like some things happened at the end that needed to happen a little quicker. There was like a climax moment, and then the book kind of dragged out a little bit after that before it ended up getting to the epilogue. And then the epilogue was interesting. I definitely liked that portion, but the like 3 or 4 chapters leading up to it, I was just like, okay, like, can we be done now? But I think overall, like, it was definitely good, and I liked the vibes, but there was something about the writing style where it was like the old puritanical way of speaking that kind of made me read much slower than I would have liked to. So it took me quite a while to finish this one. But I think overall I would give it like a 3.5 stars. It was good. Loved the vibes. But again, I do think even though it was short, it just kind of dragged out a little bit. So, and in November, I also managed to read An Academy for Liars by Alexis Henderson. I actually started this one on Thanksgiving, read like 2 chapters that day, and then on the 29th, I read the majority of it, and I finished it in the morning of the 30th. So somehow I managed to read this book within the span of like 24 hours. But this one I thought was really fun. It was kind of like a dark academia, like slash horror slash fantasy. It was kind of speculative, and it definitely wasn't perfect, but I had a great time reading it, and I was able to kind of just binge it. Like, I fell into this crazy plot with the main character named Lennon and just went on this ride with her as she discovered this magical school, which I thought was super interesting. I do wish that we got more. Kayla said in her live show for the book on her channel, Books and Lala, she said that she wished it was a trilogy, and I definitely could see how this being a trilogy would make it better, because the first book definitely like spans a lot of time. It kind of speeds up in places, which means we don't get as much time with the characters, and the plot kind of has jumps in it. But I think it was fun, dramatic, a little violent, a little scary. It was just kind of like messy in a way that was like entertaining to me in the moment. And I will say the romance was kind of lacking. Like, there was like a love interest who, I think the love interest was like a hot guy, but like he didn't really have a personality. And other than that, like, it was just kind of whatever. But every other aspect I thought was pretty cool. Like, I liked the magic, the way that worked. I wish we got more knowledge on it. And I liked the school itself. I thought that was pretty cool. And then there were some side characters that showed promise. Again, it isn't a series, but it is a pretty chunky standalone. So for what it was, I read it super quick, had a great time, thought it was entertaining. And I think I'll give this one like a 4 stars just based on my enjoyment alone. Like, there are definitely some issues with the plot and some like loopholes that kind of happened, but I'm not going to nitpick because I read it so quickly and it did what it needed to do, which was entertain me. And now back to other Rachel for the outro. So those are all of the books that I managed to get through in November, despite this frickin' slump. So I would love to know what your favorite book was that you read in November. And if you made it this far, please leave the little present emoji down in the comments, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!